Today is a very auspicious day, Disappearance Day of Srila Jayadev Goswami. Although he appeared like 2 centuries before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this world, but he is his personal associate. Because the spirit is there. Like our Guru Parampara, Rupanuga Guru in Gauriya Math, it is not by mantra, by like mantra channel. It is by the spirit. Like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur never physically saw Narottam Thakur, but we count Narottam Thakur as Guru of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Then how this is possible? He did not give initiation to him. No, that spirit is there. And also, Gurudev told, in transcendental realm, in their realized form, they are intimately connected. They are known to each other very intimately. But in this world, we see they appeared after. But those who have transcendental eyes, they can see, like Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they can see how they are connected. With this material eyes, we cannot see. So also, Jayadev Goswami, how he is a personal associate of Mahaprabhu. Also, Narottam Thakur appeared much later than Mahaprabhu already disappeared. So how is he his personal associate? But Mahaprabhu, even before Narottam Thakur appeared in this world, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already was calling Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. And Nityananda asked him, who is Narottam? We don't know. Then Mahaprabhu told, he will come. Like that, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also personal associate of Mahaprabhu. Srila Jayadev Goswami appeared in either the 11th or 12th century of the Shaka era. There is a difference of opinions about the place of his birth. The majority opinion holds that he hailed from the village of Kendubilva, presently in the district of Birbhum. Others hold that he was born in Orissa or in South India. Kendubilva is situated about 20 miles south of Siuri on the banks of the Ajaya river. In the Gauriya Vaishnava Vidhan, it is stated that Jayadev Goswami found his Radha Madhav dittis in this river's waters. It is also stated there that he used to rest and worship at the temple of Shiva known as Lord Kusheshwar, which is also on the banks of the Ajaya river. His father was Bhojadeva and his mother Bama Devi. Jayadev Goswami lived for a long time in Navadip during the reign of King of Bengal, Lakshman Sen, making his home not far from the king's palace. At that time, the king's chief scholar was Govardhan Acharya. According to Ashutosh Dev's Bengali dictionary, Jayadev Goswami was Lakshman Sen's court poet. When we do Navadip Parikrama, we go to this place. They are showing this is Jayadeva's place. When doing that Simantadip Parikrama, and in Champahati is another. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in his Navadip Dham Mahatmya that Lakshman Sen was delighted when he heard Jayadev Goswami's hymn to the 10 avatars, the Dashavatar Stotra. When Govardhan Acharya notified the king that it was Jayadev Goswami who had composed the hymn, he became desirous to meet the poet. He went incognito to Jayadev Goswami's house, and when he saw him, he noticed that Jayadev Goswami possessed the characteristics of a great and powerful spiritual personality. Greatly impressed and attracted by Jayadev Goswami, the king revealed his identity to him and invited him to come and live in the royal palace. Jayadev Goswami was leading a much renounced life and was therefore unwilling to live in the opulent environment of the palace. He told the king that he preferred to live in Jagannath Puri, because devotees, they're having wealth inside. What is that wealth? They are always in relation with Krishna. That is giving them fulfillment, not worldly relations or worldly things, possessions. They don't need. They have their wealth inside. We don't see with these eyes, but they have real wealth, relation with Krishna. Lakshman Sen was disappointed by Jayadev Goswami's intentions. He quickly suggested that he take up residence in the village of Champahati, saying that it was a place suitable for a person who wished to lead a meditative life. He also promised him that he would never come to disturb him again. When Jayadev Goswami agreed, Lakshman Sen had a cottage built for him in the village which was formerly known as Champa Kahata, named after the beautiful garden of Champa trees, and the village market where its flowers were sold. It was in this village that Mahaprabhu's associate Vijay Baninath received a vision of him in the Satya Yuga, seeing him in the form of a Brahmana whose skin was the color of a champa flower. It is golden color. Similarly, Jayadev Goswami had a vision here, first of Radha Madhav, then of their combined form as the golden champa-colored Gauranga Mahaprabhu. After the Lord gave Jayadev Goswami this vision, he told him to go to Jagannath Puri. Although Jayadev Goswami was set to live the future abode of his Lord, he obeyed the Lord's command and made his way to Puri, where it is said that he was the court poet of the king of Orissa. He spent the remainder of his life in the abode of Lord Jagannath, where he wrote the transcendental poem based on the sentiments of love in separation known as Gita Govinda or Ashtapadi. Indeed, Mahaprabhu told Jayadev Goswami, while giving him the vision in Navadip, that after appearing there, he would take sannyas and go to Jagannath Puri, where he would relish the Gita Govinda. Further information about the life of Jayadev Goswami is found in the preface of the Kolkata Basumati Sahitya Mandir's edition of Gita Govinda. Sometime prior to the Muslim conquest of Delhi, King Manikya Chandra ordered the writing of the book Alamkar Shekhar, in which Jayadev Goswami is mentioned as the court poet of the king of Orissa. Sridhar Das, the son of one of the chief courtiers of Lakshman Sen, included many of Jayadev Goswami's verses in his anthology Sat Ukti Karnamrita, citing a work named Amiyabha Kabya. The colophon to one ancient manuscript of the Gita Govinda states, Jayadev Goswami had a great reputation as a poet during the time of Lakshman Sen. According to legend, Lord Jagannath himself ordered Jayadev Goswami to marry his wife Padmavati. The story is told in the Vishwakosh as follows. There once was a Brahmana who was without offspring, despite having worshipped Lord Jagannath for many years in the hope of having a son. Finally, he and his wife had a daughter, and they named her Padmavati. When she came of marriageable age, the Brahmana brought her to Lord Jagannath to offer her to his lotus feet. When he saw them, Lord Jagannath himself said to the Brahmana, I have a servant whose name is Jayadev Goswami. He has given up family life and has dedicated himself to chanting my names. give your daughter to him in marriage. The Brahmana took his daughter to Jayadev Goswami and asked him to marry his daughter. However, since Jayadev Goswami had no desire to get married, he refused to agree to any arrangement. Then the Brahmana told him that it was Lord Jagannath himself who had arranged this marriage, and without another word he left, leaving his daughter behind. Jayadev Goswami found himself totally unprepared for this situation and told the girl, "Tell me where you want to go, and I will take you and leave you there. You cannot stay here," in that Jayadev Goswami's ashram. Padmavati started to cry and said, "My father brought me here to marry you on Jagannath Dev's order. You are my husband, my all in all. If you do not accept me, then I will fall down at your feet and die right here. You are my only hope, my Lord." The poet and scholar Jayadev Goswami could not abandon her after such a heartfelt plea, so he became a householder. Here Gurudev explained. Today I heard his Harikatha, which they put on Bibi Tirtha in Bangla. So here Gurudev said this is not ordinary marriage. Jayadev Goswami was already renounced. He had a relation with Krishna. He has no any desire to get wife or children or house. Already he's. So this is not ordinary marriage because both are devotees. Jayadev Goswami is devotee of Krishna, and Padmavati Devi also, she is a devotee of Krishna. She said, no, it is Jagannath's order. So they made such pastime to show, and Gurudev explained, they were married in that relation to God because they will assist each other in the service of Radha Madhav. They are deities, not for any other purpose or having any separate relationship, separate from relationship with Krishna and as all in related to him. There is no Maya here. No this. Generally, householder, Gurudev explained, householders are those who are having worldly desires, but at the same time they also have faith in Krishna and they want to worship. So they cannot be ascetic because of this condition. So they can worship Krishna as much as they can in this way. But those who awaken their eternal relation with Krishna, they can be ascetic because they have no any desire for any other thing. Of course, now ascetic also they can stay in mat because in house it is not possible to do bhajan, already I explained before. But in those times, or in the Goswami's time, unless one came to that platform, he was not allowed to renounce house, because then it would be cheating the society and exploiting that ashram and like this. So Jayadev Goswami already he was on pure devotion, transcendental platform, and Jagannath made this arrangement to send him a real devotee to assist each other in the service of Krishna. Gurudev said also Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Kamal Manjari. He is not some lusty person, but he was in family life. There, that is not ordinary family life. They are seeing everything in relation to Krishna. So here also Jayadev, even the name Goswami, how Goswami can be if he's householder? Even the name says he has no any. He has all full control over his senses, being engaged in the service of Krishna. So here Jayadev Goswami is not seeing her as his wife in worldly sense, and she's not seeing him as husband in worldly sense, but in relation to Krishna only. So that is transcendental marriage. Gurudev explained today in that Bangla. So also here, he became a householder. That means outwardly looked like that. But he, as we sang yesterday that song, I am remaining in your house, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sang. Krishna, I am in your house. That is not my house, it is your house. So that is transcendental Grihastha ashram. Jayadev Goswami took up the worship of a Narayan deity, and in the waves of love he felt for him, began writing Gita Govinda with incomparable ambrosia. It is said that though Jayadev Goswami is responsible for all the moods and sentiments that appear in the Gita Govinda, he had some reticence about writing that Krishna fell down at Radharani's feet to beg her forgiveness when she was angry with him for having deceived her. This is also transcendental lila. We should not make a mistake. On that day, when he left the house to take his bath in the ocean, Lord Jagannath himself came inside, disguised as Jayadev Goswami, opened his manuscript and completed the verse he had started. Smara Garala Khandanam Mama Shirasi Mandanam, with the words Dehi Pada Palavam Udaram. Make the noble blossom of your foot an ornament on my head, as it dispels the poison of love in separation. Krishna told to Radharani, you put your feet on my head. So Jayadev Goswami was hesitating to write it. He saw it in his meditation, that lila he saw, but he was hesitating how I can write. Whole world is thinking Krishna is supreme entity, supreme personality of Godhead, everything. But here we see he is subdued and he's telling to Radharani to put feet there. How I can write this? But Jagannath himself wrote, means Krishna. Krishna is Jagannath. Padmavati was surprised to see her husband back so soon from his bath and asked, what are you doing here? You just left a minute ago. The disguised Lord Jagannath answered, I thought of something I had forgotten while on my way. I was afraid I might forget, so I came back to write it down. See, here, Krishna Jagannath speaking lie. In Krishna, there is stealing, lying, everything is there. But because that is transcendental lila, and for the eternal benefit of all, it is pure, it is not impure. But speaking lie in this world, for some other purpose, is sin. And you have to be very careful. I experienced one time. One very new, like not initiated with it, but somehow she started to come to our program. So one time I spoke that Krishna was speaking lie to Jashoda. Then that newcomer, she became so much disturbed. How you can say like this? How God can lie? This is a very great sin. How it is possible? And she was totally disturbed. Then I was surprised, what is this? Then I understood that she's new and does not know all these things. So I did not explain it is a lila, but I explained in this way that actually Krishna was not lying, because everything belongs to him, and also that earth is already within him, so he was not eating earth, it was already within. So in that way I try to explain that he's not speaking actual lie. It seems like that it is lie. Then somehow she was pacified. That is why we have to be very careful when speaking about Krishna Lila. Especially in public, it should not be done where so many people are there. They may misunderstand. They will think ordinary, especially Ras Lila not. It will be wrong. So you have to be careful. not long after Lord Jagannath had left, yes, because when Krishna was eating earth, then Jashoda said, you ate earth? Then Krishna said, no. Then she became, how he can lie? God. Because she's more Christian background. And that is great sin. And God is all good and all perfect, everything. So how he can speak? Then I said, no, already earth was there inside. And also when Krishna, Jashoda asked him, did you steal in other places that butter and sweets? Did you steal? And Krishna said, no, they are speaking lies. Again, he's speaking lie, but in another sense it is true, because everything belongs to him, so he cannot steal anything. And also another thing is, they were keeping that for Krishna there, intentionally. They wanted to serve Krishna, to give butter and everything, but Nanda Maharaj and Jashoda, they did not allow Krishna to go to their houses to eat. They said, why you should go to other places? We have enough here. You should not go. So then Krishna has no any other option and they want to serve him. So he's stealing. And then they are complaining against him and Krishna says, no, they are lying. But this Krishna Lila is not so easy to understand. So it should not be spoken in front of public or total beginners. They have to hear proper explanation and they have to have faith first and like this. So here one may wonder how Jagannath is lying here. Is the Supreme Lord. Not long after Lord Jagannath had left, the real Jayadev Goswami returned. This time, Padmavati was really astonished to see him. She said, you just left to go and take your bath. Just a few moments ago you were writing your manuscript and then you left. How could you have finished and come back so quickly? I am beginning to wonder who that was and who you are. Jayadev Goswami was clever enough to guess what had happened, and he went and looked at his unfinished text and saw the words that the Lord himself had written. The hair stood on end all over his body, and tears came pouring from his eyes. He called Padmavati and said to her, you are so fortunate. Your life has been made worthy. You have had the good fortune to see the Lord himself. I am so lowly that I did not have that opportunity. There is a legend told in Jagannath Puri that there was a flower gardener's daughter who had learned Gita Govinda and would sing it with great emotion. Lord Jagannath was attracted by her singing and would go to listen to her, only returning to the temple after she had finished singing. One day, when the king of Orissa came to see the deity, he saw that the Lord's body was covered in dust and his clothes were filled with thorns. He asked the pujaris the reason for Lord's disheveled condition, but no one could explain how it had come about. The servants of the deity were afraid that they would be punished. But that night, Lord Jagannath appeared to the king in a dream and explained that no one was to blame for his clothes being soiled that day. He had gone to listen to the gardener's daughter and had become covered with dust and thorns while hiding in the garden. The king was struck with wonder by his dream and immediately sent for the gardener's daughter to be brought to the court in a palanquin. After making inquiries from her, he decided that she should sing for Jagannath in the temple, rather than obliging the Lord to leave the temple and get all dirty. This was the beginning of the tradition of the temple, engaging girls named Devadasis to sing Gita Govinda for Jagannath's pleasure. And we heard also Raya Ramananda wrote that drama, And he was also training these Devadasis in singing and dancing that drama for the Jagannath Dev's pleasure. In the last 12 years of his pastimes, Mahaprabhu was absorbed in Radha's mood and constantly relished this hidden spirit of love. During this time, he would savor the songs of the Gita Govinda. Day and night, the Lord would speak as though he were Radha meeting Uddhav. He would also relish the poems of Chandidas, Jayadev Goswami, and Vidyapati. Mahaprabhu was never pleased to hear books or verses that contradicted Siddhanta, nor did he like hearing Rasa Abhas, an improper mixture of devotional sentiments. It was the practice of Swarup Damodar Goswami to examine all works of literature to find out whether their conclusions were correct. Only then would he allow them to be heard by the Lord. Sri Swarup Damodar used to make Mahaprabhu very happy by singing the songs of Vidyapati, Chandidas, and Gita Govinda. Swarup Damodar would sing songs that reflected the moods of the Lord whenever they arose, while Ramananda Rai selected verses from Vidyapati, Chandidas, and Gita Govinda according to the Lord's mood. Chaitanya Charitamrita. This Gita Govinda is also not allowed. Means our Gurudev told us not to read in this stage, full of anarthas, because that is pure lila of Radha, Govinda, and the gopis. So only those who are properly eligible, they are allowed to hear that. The Lord returned also Mahaprabhu by his own example he showed, only with Raya Ramananda and Swarup Damodar, not in public. The Lord returned to external consciousness for a moment and told Swarup to sing some sweet songs. Swarup sang one of Vidyapati's songs and then songs from the Gita Govinda, which were greatly appreciated by the Lord. Chandidas Vidyapati Rayar Nataka Giti Karnamrita Shri Gita Govinda. Swarup Ramananda Sone Mahaprabhu Ratri Dine Gai Shune Parama Ananda. Day and night, Mahaprabhu ecstatically relished the songs of Chandidas, Vidyapati, and Ramananda Rai's plays, as well as Krishna Karnamrita and Gita Govinda, in the company of Swarup and Ramananda. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Many other amazing and miraculous events were scattered through Jayadev Goswami's life. He used to serve his deities Radha Madhav in a trance of divine love. It is said that just as the devotee dedicates himself to the Lord also dedicates himself to his devotee. One day, Jayadev Goswami was thatching his roof under the merciless midday sun. Lord Jagannath saw his devotee's discomfort and decided to help him finish the work quickly by handing him the rope needed to bale the straw and removing the finished bundles and placing them on the roof. Jayadev Goswami thought that Padmavati was helping him in this way, but when he came down from the roof after finishing much earlier than expected, he saw no one there. He asked his wife, and she told him that she had been busy elsewhere at the time. He was curious about what had happened, but struck with wonder when he went into the deity room and saw that Madhava's hands were black from handling the straw. He was thus able to understand that Lord Madhav himself had come to help him thatch the roof. He fell down before his Lord and started to cry. So how deity can do? Deity is omnipotent supreme Lord. On another occasion, Jayadev Goswami wished to put on a festival for his deities, Radha Madhav, but he was short of money. he decided to travel in order to collect some funds. Here also Gurudev explained. It is for the service of Radha Madhav. He went to collect money. On his return journey, he was stopped by a band of thugs who not only stole his money but cut off his hands and feet and threw him down a well to die. Despite the pain, Jayadev Goswami shouted out the names of the Lord loudly. After Jayadev Goswami had spent 3 days in this way, the king happened to pass that way on a hunting expedition and heard the sound of the holy names coming from the hole in the ground. The king approached the sound out of curiosity and was horrified to see Jayadev Goswami in such a serious condition. He had him pulled out of the well and brought back to his palace, where he had him treated. Under the care of the king and the queen, Jayadev Goswami was gradually returned to health. So how we can understand this? Before, Madhav helped him to thatch roof quickly so that sun would not hurt him so much. But here we see he went for the sake of Radha Madhav to collect money, and this thing happened. How Krishna can allow this? Nothing can happen without his will. We know when Dhruva went to forest, Krishna was holding back the lions, tigers and pythons to not eat him. Why he did not hold them back here? Before he was helping him so that he will not suffer due to sun, and now here we see what happened. How we can understand this? It is by Krishna's will it happened. So how we can understand? It is to show the glory of real devotee. Krishna is making this thing. Because all this further development will come, and to show what he was doing. He was loudly chanting Harinam, like Haridas Thakur. Actually, they don't feel pain. We cannot understand this, but they don't feel pain. So he showed that in such a serious condition, he was not crying or blaming or lamenting or like this. No, he was, and he did not say, Krishna, why you made this? It came by your will, now I will not worship you. But no, he's worshipping Krishna more. This is only to Krishna sometimes making such arrangements so that the glory of devotee will be seen to the public. What is the glory of real devotee? And what is his character? Otherwise, we cannot understand. Like to Prahlad, by his behavior we can see. But if there are no adverse circumstances, we cannot see certain qualities in devotees. Special. Both the king and queen were charmed by Jayadev Goswami's sweet singing of the Gita Govinda as well as by his saintly character. They immediately sent for Padmavati and had her brought to their palace. The royal couple heard about Krishna from Jayadev Goswami and took initiation from him and started to make their lives successful by service of the Lord and his devotees. So this was one thing. Krishna wanted to grace king and his queen, give them initiation and scope of serving the real devotee. Otherwise, devotees, they never want to give service to anyone. But Krishna makes them sick so that others can get that service. So one day, the robbers who had attacked Jayadev Goswami came to the king's palace as guests in the guise of devotees. So it is not impossible, it is possible. What to speak of this? Many cheating going on in this world, on the pretext of many things. So even in the guise of devotee, they can come. And Ravan also came in the guise of sadhu, sannyasi. And so anything may happen in Kali Yuga and other ages also. So we have to be careful, surrender to Krishna. He can reveal what is what. So they came. Even though Jayadev Goswami recognized who they were, he gave them the appropriate honor due to their outward appearance and arranged for the king's hospitality to be extended to them. The robbers, however, did not understand Jayadev Goswami's forgiving and generous nature. So how we can understand, how we could know the forgiving and generous nature of a devotee if that thing would not happen? And it is up to the extreme. They cut off his hand and legs, but he made this. How this is possible? For conditioned soul, who is in bodily consciousness, that is never possible. He will take revenge, double, surely. But devotee, he can forgive and can be generous. So it is practically shown. So Krishna wants to make this known to the world. What is the uncommon character of a devotee? And fearing capture and punishment, thought it best to live without accepting the royal invitation. They were thinking from their own thinking, surely he will take revenge, we will be punished. So better we flee before. They could not understand. Jayadev Goswami understood their fear and asked the king to give them a large sum of money, their devotees, so they came to beg, so, and an escort, and sent them on their way. After they had gone a certain distance, the robbers said to the soldiers accompanying them, "You need not go any further. However, we would like to tell you a secret message to convey to the king. Prior to becoming Vaishnavas, we were the servants of a certain king who, for a very good reason, ordered us to murder this priest, Jayadev Goswami, for a good reason, because he was corrupt and doing so many things, so we had to kill him. So you should know that he's a bad guy. So that you should tell to your king, that he's a bad guy. That is why we cut off his hands and feet and left him to die. The priest gave us a lot of money and asked us to leave quickly because he was afraid that this secret would come out." So you see, unable to tolerate the telling of such a great lie, the earth herself opened up and swallowed the entire gang of devotees. These thieves, not devotees, thieves. The goddess of the earth was unable to support the weight of these sinful liars, and so she swallowed them up. As they blasphemed the great devotee of the Lord, they met their doom in the bowels of the earth. When Shukracharya, the guru of the demons, told Bali Maharaj not to give the 3 steps of land demanded by Bamandev, Bali answered that he was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. How could he go back on his word like a miser once he had committed himself to giving in charity? He substantiated this by quoting the earth goddess. Nahi asatyat paro dharmati hovacha bur iyam sarvam sodum alam mani ritelik aparam naram. There is no greater irreligiousness than untruth, says the earth goddess. I can bear any burden other than that of a person who constantly lies. It's a great sin. But now in Kali Yuga it is common. It is stated in Bhagavatam also. In Kali Yuga, everything, whole business, everything will go by lying. It's common. So for their self-interest, they are lying like anything. Guru said, by hook or by crook, they want to earn more money. So if this would not happen, then how we could see practical character of a real devotee? And what happens to those who are trying to harm the devotees and who are lying like this? We have to see with our eyes. So Krishna made such arrangement. The servants of the king who had accompanied these robbers were amazed to see them punished for their offense to Jayadev Goswami right before their very eyes. They came back to the king's palace and told him everything they had witnessed. The king inquired from Jayadev Goswami about the robbers, and he told the entire story. He said, "O king, a saintly man does not seek revenge from those who have done evil toward him. He attempts to satisfy them with polite behavior. Even so, the Lord's flawless dispensation, means without any mistake, will make them suffer the consequences of their own sinfulness, as he did in this case." So, if we don't see, then we cannot believe just someone saying. No, they are sadhus, they are very forgiving and tolerant like this. But those are what Jayadev Goswami practically he showed this. By his own example and by words also. Otherwise we cannot believe. But it is, and also they are not, that surely those who are doing misdeeds, they will be punished at the appropriate time by Krishna. So it is also there. Jayadev Goswami's wife became a close friend of the queen. In those days, the practice of sati, where the wife would enter the funeral pyre along with her husband, was an accepted custom. After her brother's death, the queen was mortified that her sister-in-law would have to die on the funeral pyre with him. Padmavati said to the queen, "A faithful wife's life heirs leave her body the very moment her husband dies, because she is remaining only for him, living only for him. So when he dies, she's also dying." Also, I heard from Vishnu Maharaj of Krishna Chaitanya Mission that they did this, and it was not a painful when they entered into fire, because they did it for dharma. So for following dharma they did, so they were not getting pain by that. When the queen heard this, she decided to test Padmavati herself. One day she announced to Padmavati that her husband Jayadev Goswami had suddenly died. As soon as this news entered her ears, Padmavati gave up her life. This shocked the queen, and she began to cry out of sense of guilt for having caused it. The king went to Jayadev Goswami and begged him to return the life to her. The great devotee Jayadev Goswami whispered the name of Krishna into his wife's ear, and she opened her eyes, and as though she had just awakened. Upon seeing this manifestation of both Jayadev Goswami and Padmavati's glories, the king and queen, along with their courtiers and servants, paid their obeisances at their feet. This arrangement was also made to show the glory of both. Padmavati is fully chaste to husband, and she died, but she could be revived by Jayadev. So unless such arrangement is made, how we can see the glories of devotee? So we should not think that Krishna is at any time cruel to his devotee. No. What we see as outwardly some cruelty or injustice or something done to devotee, you should know there is some higher purpose behind that. Krishna is making something known to us. It is for our benefit. Not that he is cruel to devotee. After this, Jayadev Goswami wished to see Vrindavan. He took leave of the king and queen, and then, taking his deity Radha Madhav with him, set off on the long journey. Once in Vrindavan, he began to serve his deities in a spot near Keshigarh. That place is also still there. When the residents of the Dham heard Jayadev Goswami sing the Gita Govinda in his sweet voice, they were entranced. One merchant built a large temple for the deities on that site. It is said that Jayadev Goswami returned to his birthplace in Kendubilva after living in Vrindavan for many years. He spent the rest of his life there, performing his bhajan. He would make the long walk to the Ganges every day to take his bath there. One day, for some reason or other, he was unable to make it. Ganga Devi was so kind to him that she came personally to the village of Kendubilva so that he could bathe in her holy waters. It is said that he left the body in Kendubilva, and every year on the first day of the month of Magh, a large festival is held there in his memory. You see, we will think mythology, but it is not. It is true. Ganga Devi's person. So she came to serve devotee. There is a difference of opinions about where Jayadev Goswami left his body. Though some say he returned to Kendubilva, others claim it was Puri, and still others say that he went to Vrindavan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has stated his opinion that Jayadev Goswami left this world from Jagannath Puri. Though some people say that Jayadev Goswami returned to Kendubilva to spend his last days, there is no indication anywhere that he brought his Radha Madhav deities with him. In fact, these deities were taken by the king of Jaipur to a place named Ghati sometime after Jayadev Goswami's passing away, and they are still being served in the Jaipur area. Jayadev Goswami's disappearance day is on the 6th day of the waning moon in the month of Paush, today. So I am bowing down to Jayadev Goswami and praying for his causeless mercy, and also to Padmavati Devi. She's pure devotee. Praying her in grace. Jagannath arranged that two devotees, they will unitedly, they will worship him, they will serve him. Tomorrow we'll hear further Chaitanya Charitamrita.